SoCalQOL. It is Saturday, and we are here. We are a little late than normal, but we are still here, ready to do a podcast. One podcast every day, the whole year, 365 experiment. Hashtag 365 experiment. But yeah, as I always say, better late than never. So yes, I am ecstatic about talking today because I actually get to truly talk from experience. Because this past week, as far as social wellness goes, and our relationships, and basically committing to other people to have a mutual relation, talk about friendships, good old friendships. And the reason why I can speak from experience, especially this week, is because this week I've actually been able to catch up with like half a dozen friends. Not only from this year, so pretty much since the beginning of the year, I haven't really been socializing with a lot of people. Granted, I've been doing podcasts and I've been, doing things to obviously help build up what SoCalQOL is here to do. But I'm talking beyond that. I'm talking, meeting up with friends for dinner or lunch or breakfast, going to movies, just doing the regular friendship relationship stuff. And why it's important and why you need to continue doing those types of things, especially in your own personal network, because it's important to have people that you can not only bounce off, your ideas with, but you can also give in your 2 cents and just continue conversations, build up trust. Overall, you're basically just trying to, yeah, add value to other people, speak from experience, so that you can hopefully let them learn from your mistakes, or let them, think of something that they didn't think of before. So yeah, that's basically what today is going to be about. It might not be too long, but the idea is that unless we bring up the conversation as a company, there might be a chance that certain topics slip through the cracks, and we don't want to see that. So yes, social wellness, it doesn't necessarily have to only apply to your spouse and your marriage. It can basically apply to, your friendships. And this, I want to think of this as like not like girlfriend boyfriend kind of stuff, not like when you're trying to court someone. This is literally like, hey homie, what up girlfriend? Like this is your friendships. These are the people that are like-minded like yourself. They're positive people, but they're also, they have their own, I don't want to say issues, but they have their own dilemmas. They have their own questions that they foresee themselves needing to make an answer soon. And what better person or people to discuss that with than your friends? So yeah, I'll say the first kind of group are those long time friends. So the longtime friends that maybe you've known since you've grown up, like middle school, high school. Maybe they're longtime friends, like you were working with them 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. Or people that you've always just had a good connection with, and you never really had to like essentially always talk on the phone or text or message. It was really just like a, hey, I just really think you're a cool guy. There was like that automatic trust, or girl, sorry, but you're a really cool person. I've always been able to trust this person because there was never any hidden agenda, so on and so forth. And the reason why those types of friends are important is because they are truly the ones that you can get like super honest opinions from. One of my best friends, he's always been able to just call me out on my shit. And, if I was ever going back on my morals, my ethics, my religion, even things that I had said that I would never do, or, dating certain girls that I said I would never date, he was always there to basically say, dude, are you freaking kidding me? Like, stop, like this is stupid. And probably because those types of friends have to deal with the problems as well, have to hear about them over and over again. But the good thing about these kinds of friends is they really can call you out, versus the kinds of people that you know you basically follow them on Instagram or Facebook and you always comment on their posts, but then when you actually get together with them, they might only be about like partying and having a good time and trying to just get away from life versus actually handling their ish right then and there. So yeah, those kinds of friends are super important. And yeah, more recently I got to catch up with a friend who we really didn't spend that much time together working, but when we did, it was like we were just super on point together. We were able to communicate very easily, and there was never really any because we didn't more so like beyond the problems, like I just get you, you get me, we see eye to eye. And through those types of connections, when something does go wrong, like if the year before was so terrible and you just went through a lot of stuff, like you don't necessarily uh guard yourself or put up any walls with the friend, because essentially you can be honest and you won't be judged, you won't be condemned for whatever happened or whatever decision you make, because like they're always going to understand where you come from, your morals, your ethics, and they actually probably understand the relationship as being that, as being such, because you know that there's people that have a really good influence into your life, and even though you only spend a certain amount of time with them, like a little bit, it's always good, it's always authentic, it's always positive. And yeah, so I think that basically sums up those types of friends. Obviously you're not going to have a lot of those friends, because if we did, I mean, I don't know, it might be a good thing, I don't know. We probably get more stuff done and we'd be less micro and think more macro, or short term versus long term. But yeah, I mean those types of friends are probably the ones that don't have as much stuff going on to discuss and problem solve with you, but they're more so like just relaying information. That way you're 100% caught up, and but you always have a good time. That's for sure. And you can always be upfront. So that's a really basically core group of people that we should all have. I mean, you could maybe factor in family into there, but no, family's a different beast. Speaking of family, let's talk about family, because family is an interesting group. And I mean, I almost don't want to bring them up in this conversation because, friendships are friendships because you both have like not something to lose, but you literally are pretty much only there and giving each other that that trust, because you really just want to gain, you want to gain something, versus maybe a family member, you don't really have anything to lose, but at the same time, you might just want to stay away from certain family members for whatever reason. And yeah, so that can be a tough conversation to have, because I mean, other than if it's like family that are second cousins or like distant relatives, those are the types of family that I guess you could probably categorize in this group. So maybe we'll label it that way. But then like, so let's go to a different type of group. So then let's say the group that you don't necessarily see all the time, but when you do see them, it's always like they've always got shit going on. They're always trying to solve problems. They're always trying to like figure out what the hell they're doing with their life, or they just have like questions, like because they look at you like a father mother figure, or they're trying to they're just trying to direct their own steps, and you've always been that type of person that can relay information. And once again, there's that trust there. But at the same time, yeah, I think those type of friends are good in seasons, because if it's not all the time, odds are you're not going to have you're not gonna never not want to hang out with them. But I feel like once certain people get off or put off that type of relationship, then it almost becomes like work. It almost becomes like, oh, when we do talk to X, Y, and Z, or yeah, these people, we're gonna have to talk about real shit, and it's gonna have to be the stuff that isn't just like, hey man, like, what shows you watching, or what kind of music you listen to, or that kind of stuff. I would say some friends can flip flop. Some friends can be in between those types of friendship groups, but for the most part, you know, yeah, and this category of people, it's less like once a month. It's actually probably more like once a quarter, and those types of friends that you know you're almost just like you're trying to figure stuff out together. Maybe you see them because of other friends that always get together at certain times, or who knows. But I just think like maybe in between long-term friends that you like never ever see to this type of group, there's a very clear distinction between them. But at the same time, you're really just you're trying to do life together and have a good time and eat some good food, go to some events or things that you can share in the same um, category of interests. And but yeah, it's a good group to have too, because then you're able to, if anything, work on your communication, because sometimes those conversations can be kind of deep and meaningful and heated. And um, yeah, but I would say that they're definitely not like people you work with. And if you do work at a big, 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 big company, then maybe it's possible. But yeah, let's go to those people. So the people that you see every week, those type of people, and then this is probably less like, you see them every Sunday because of church or because you guys always watch football together. These people are more like, yeah, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and those types of friends, it can be weird because they could get on your nerves one week, they could be your best friend the other week, they could be going through their own problems, and maybe it bleeds into your department, or the type of friends that um yeah, that might always just be uh not passive, but like you can always talk to them about stuff, but it's never too deep to where like you actually have to like sit down and like have an intense conversation. It's more like, oh yeah, this is the kind of stuff I'm going through, and they're like, oh yeah, me too. It sucks, and so it's basically like relatable problems, but not so much like, oh, we're gonna figure it out together, or let me tell you, let me mentor you. It's not those kinds of people. So you're really just trying to pass the time, be cordial, and you know communicate as much as you can, add as much value as you can. But that's not the main reason why you see those people, because you're passing by, or you see them in a meeting or two, or your departments end up working together every once in a while. And yeah, full disclaimer, like there's never going to be one type of person that fits in each category. Like you might have people that can bounce them through all types of groups, but I think the important thing is to definitely mentally group people, because at the end of this conversation, I'd like to talk about like how to build a type of maybe not lifestyle, but like routine with your friends that you can not only put into your routine of you being an entrepreneur, or you trying to build your own business, or you just trying to be a better person and figure your stuff out. But once we're able to categorize like, oh yeah, I hung out with the long-term friend like a couple weeks ago, probably don't need to like reach out to them again. Or I saw these people who I see maybe once a quarter, like I was saying, and I do feel led to like reach out to them because I saw something happen on Instagram or something, and just I feel led to reach out, just to let them know like, hey, I'm thinking about you, hope everything's well. um but yeah, like I said, there's never going to be a point where one person's going to fit into one category. Odds are they're going to bleed into each other. Maybe you've got a friend that's, at the top group where you're seeing them every day, talking every day, and then they bleed into the long-term group. That happens. Um, let's go to another group. Maybe there's the maybe there's the people that you actually haven't even gotten to hang out with. I've definitely got people like that where, you know, we've talked about hanging out, we've talked about meeting, we've talked about, you know, going on walks or hikes or, working together as far as, on a project or music or whatever. But just for whatever reason, paths don't really cross. And, when you're busy, they're not. When they're busy, you're not. And it's like there's always that hit or miss kind of vibe. And, there's something to be said about those types of relationships because all in all, you're if it's like somehow, some way manage the time with their schedule to make it happen. I mean, that's kind of hard to swallow. That's kind of a hard thing to sit back and go, yeah, I can dedicate like a couple more months of this, and kind of drive myself crazy. But yeah, I definitely think it's worth pursuing certain people, and maybe it's being clear with your expectations because that's a huge thing. Not to branch out into the spousal area, the marriage side, but I mean that's one thing I've learned being married for 4 ish years that unless you have a clear expectation of what not only you want but what they want, you can really piss each other off. And there's no point in doing that because at the end of the day, you're actually just you're trying to make each other's lives better. So for you not to do, essentially release your expectations to them and let them know, odds are they're not even going to realize that they're hurting your feelings or that you're messing with them or that you're upset. So maybe releasing those expectations and relaying them to these individuals is important, especially after maybe 2 or 3 hits and misses, because like I said, you don't want to stress yourself out, drive yourself crazy, especially if they don't even care. They're like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, like I didn't realize that this was like a bigger deal than I thought. I didn't realize that you wanted to do something like right away. But I just, hypothetically, it was like, oh, it'd be great to hang out with you because I've seen your posts or I've heard about you through a friend, or your spouse or whatever. So yeah, maybe set some expectations for those people because maybe that would be the one thing that they need to hear to actually like step up their game or communicate to you that, hey, you know what, right now is just not the right time, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. So and then I'll say maybe there's the people that like are huge mentors, people that you look up to, that you're always looking for their opinion because you just respect their experience or their their leadership, their position in management or their title at their company, whatever it is. Those types of people, kind of fall in the same line because they just might be super busy. They also might, maybe they don't know you as well as you might think they do. So you reaching out to them is more like not advertising, but it's like you're fishing for something, you're looking for something for your own benefit. So in those moments, you actually do want to actually try to over exaggerate adding value. Like, hey, so and so, I really appreciate you, and I'd love for somehow, some way for me to help you in any way I can. Let me add value to you if you ever need it, and pro bono or however you have to put it, whatever is in your own words. But the whole point is they're a friendship that every time you do talk, it's always super enlightening. It's intellectual. It's never just like yeah, that girl, man, she's so hot, and like, yeah, I'm gonna be partying with so and so later, or I'm going on tour with whoever. It's more like it's more just like deep, meaningful. Like they just and maybe they got you in the door somewhere. Maybe they like helped you out in an amazing way when they didn't have to. And those types of relationships, man, are so freaking like so priceless because, I used to be able to count those types of people on both my hands. Now I can't even think of, a couple, and it's hard. I mean, I don't know if it's like getting older. I don't know if it's like burning bridges or going through, different careers that has that happen, but those friendships are priceless because they're probably going to be there forever, and they're probably obviously not going to be able to always give you those opportunities, but the whole point is they're always willing to hear you out or to meet up with you, and it's not like they don't want to do it. It's more so like it's just not the right time, and it's just paths aren't aligning. You're just going in parallel maybe, or you know it's it might not be in the cards right now. And so, like I said, these types of different groups, they fall into different places, and they'll hop and skip and jump. Some of my mentors that I every other day, now they're like lifers. They're people that, maybe I see once every 5 years, but we still have those connections. We still have those friendships. So even sending a quick text, quick email, quick, comment on a post is important to make sure those, the not the respect is still there, but just touches. You want to touch people even just a little way, even posting a little emoji. Like I know that doesn't mean much to some people, maybe the baby boomers in this world, but to the younger generation, to even my generation, like I feel like something's better than nothing. And at least for most people, some people actually, the more you talk to them, the worse it gets. But I'm trying to think of any other kind of categories recently that I could kind of elaborate on. But yeah, I'll say one more group. Maybe there's a group that you weren't always like 100% tight with your whole life. Maybe you've only known them for 5, 10 years, but you connected in such a way so rapidly, or you reunited and it feels so good. So like when you reunite, it was just like exponential growth in your relationship, and then it's kind of like they're all in your life, and that's going to happen. And maybe it's only for a season, but at the same time, I think those people need to get the most grace, because odds are they're there's probably a reason why you're in their life at the time you are, because they're either trying to start a business, or there's a big event happening in their life, or they're getting married, or whatever, like whatever that situation is that has them just kind of thrown into the mix, into the or you're thrown into their tornado of life. That's normal. And like I said, yeah, give grace to those types of situations, because at the end of the day, you never want to take a situation with your friends or the relationships that you see as being a good fit long term, and burning it because you disagreed on something, or you miscommunicated something, or you tried to do one thing and it ended up feeling or coming off another way. And the good thing is I think those types of relationships they're gonna kind of bounce off each other, naturally, because of the impact of the situation or whatever's happening. And then, like once it's done, it's done. And from there you can either build upon that, or you can pull back, or you can continue the way it is if that works for you. But yeah, I think those types of friendships exist too, and in seasons, because there's I hope to have a big kind of thing happen in this year for SoCalQOL, for my own personal brand, for my other guitar company, Only Way to Play. And it'd be cool. It'd be cool to have events or projects or just life things that happen, and I'm able to bring this momentum to those relationships, because a lot of times I look for the opportunities to grab my friends who I foresee either growing from a situation that I kind of have to go through anyways. So why not have it go with why not do it with the friends that you have in your life? Because it's going to add value. If anything, it's going to add experience, but through that, usually people begin to add value to themselves. And but yeah, I think it's always important to now just to stem off the the routine goals, because like I said, this whole month or this since the beginning of the year, I've I haven't really had the time to keep relationships going in the way that I used to, maybe because I wasn't so prioritized with the companies and the business and the brands. But at the same time, they might not know that. They might not see what I'm doing and compute it as like, oh, Scott's busy doing other stuff for himself and or his business. Like they're probably seeing like, oh, Scott probably doesn't like me anymore, or Scott probably is mad, or whatever. And so it might be important just for you to get together with those people, each one of those groups, and communicate the fact that, oh, this is where I am in my life. This is what I'm pursuing. And maybe that'll rub off on them. Maybe it'll overflow into their life and help motivate and give positive reinforcement to what they want to do, the category they fit in, and how you can incorporate that into your routine. Because, for me, I'm all or nothing. So I think one of the main reasons why I've reunited / reconnected with a lot of people this week is because that's kind of how I am. Kind of go all or nothing into certain situations or certain routines. And then the only bummer is it took away from what I was doing for the past 3 weeks, but I don't regret it. I'm not upset. I'm more so like realizing like, oh, like that's a good thing. Like that's a good thing that I was able to distinguish the reason why, like hashtag 365 experiment wasn't going the same way it was since the beginning of the year. It was probably because I've been investing my time into the relationships that I feel are important to continue pouring into and have so much time. A lot of the people that I talk to about, if they're starting a career, they're starting a business, they're developing the person that they want to be. A lot of times you need to go through your hours. You need to say, okay, how long do I sleep? Then how long do I work? Then how long do I, fuck around? You got to be honest with yourself. If you're sitting around, watching hours of Netflix, YouTube, movies, whatever, is it because you're just killing time, or is it actually because that's one of your love languages and your spouse or the people that you want to invest in are there, and that's pretty much the only reason why you would do it. So it's like when people aren't around, what are you doing? So that's a big, huge, what the hell are you doing with your time question. And you'd be surprised that once you do sit back, write down all the hours that you spend, either the past week or what you can remember. You could just go through life and make notes, but at the same time, you could probably hypothetically just think like, okay, yesterday I was doing this. Yesterday before that, I did this and this. How many hours did I kind of do nothing? And for me, it took